Hey Robin, how you doing?
Hi, Chase. I'm doing great. I just came in from the garden. You can see some of the things I picked out from our garden here.
All right, looks good. Looks like you got some juice there as well.
I do, a nice green juice.
Wonderful. Um, Robin, you're in the country, right?
Yes, well, out in the Missouri Ozarks.
All right. So, and I'm out here in North Idaho, just hanging out on my parents' porch while I'm visiting them for a few days. Um, but so, Robin, your connection may go in and out a little bit, but that's what you get when you live the country life, right?
That's right. That's right. It's worth it.
Yeah. And you got an amazing garden and just an amazing place to really brainstorm all the great products and things that we want to teach people. So
Yes.
today we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about why we started Enliven Foods and what led us to do this. So Robin, how about you kick it off for us?
Okay. Well, I'll say I had a very serious horseback riding accident in 2002, and had a lot of injuries. And anyway, after that, I've suffered from severe health issues, and it kind of triggered a bad autoimmune situation. And I learned the power of eating this way because this is what's kept me alive. One of the reasons I drink this green juice is this really helps mitigate any symptoms that I have. I would not be alive had I not learned to eat this way. And knowing what I know, and I've been teaching this for a long time, is that our country is under attack, and it's under attack by an invisible enemy. And do you know what that invisible enemy is, Chase?
Yeah, I mean, a major one is poor nutrition. Just
That's correct.
causes lots of things. Obviously, obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, um, leads to high blood pressure. I mean, what else, Robin? There's a lot.
uh, Terrible GI conditions, stroke, cancer, and mental illness, which is something a lot of people don't really make the connection, that nutrition has a lot to do with your mental health. And so these things that we're talking about, all of these are really the trail of casualties just left in the wake of this invisible enemy. And it really, Chase, it's really like the elephant in the middle of the room that nobody's really talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on today, obviously in America and in the world, and I think a lot of the ails that we have, one of the roots that really influences it is nutrition and how people treat the temple that is their body. You know, so
That's so correct. And pandemics now, we need to add that to our list of casualties from the invisible enemy. The pandemics and this COVID that we're experiencing now, a lot of the people who are really suffering the most from it and actually losing their lives are the ones that have these underlying conditions, the ones that we mentioned. And so the only protection against chronic and infectious disease is a protective immune system. And people have gone so far away from eating just real food. My grandparents, your, I guess, great grandparents, they ate from a garden. They had gardens. They had the victory gardens in World War II, but people had gardens anyway. That was just standard. People ate fresh vegetables out of the gardens. They weren't using a lot of chemical pesticides because they didn't have them, and the chemical fertilizers, and the animals were out just grazing on green grass mostly. So they lived a much healthier life. And one of the things that's very important is that in your formative years, actually before you're 5 years old, what you ate is very important and will determine your health as you get older in life. But you're not bound to that, because you can change that by changing your eating habits later on in life and strengthening your immune system.
mhm.
So basically that gets down to This is why we started Enliven Foods, because you can only have a protective immune system by eating a natural, whole food, plant-rich diet. That's the only way. So that's why we created this company, to make eating plants more pleasurable and convenient.
Yeah, and as we talk, you may hear some cars driving by or birds chirping. It's just because we're enjoying the outside, getting fresh air, because, you know, that's one thing that really can help in a lot of different ways. But you know, like we've talked about before, we want to help that transition to eating plants be more pleasurable and convenient by providing, you know, indulgent products that are guilt-free but whole food, plant-based, and then also providing, you know, education. First, we're starting to share our story and, you know, kind of our journeys to plant-based eating. And myself and Robin and our other co-founder Mark, we all have different journeys that can relate to a lot of different people out there. You know, obviously we're pretty different in age, you know. I think that's a strength for us, because we can relate to a broad spectrum of people that have had health issues that have caused them to transition to this way of eating. But we want to help people through products, and we'll be talking about some of those later. But we also want to help through education, like I talked about, and teach people the nutrition science behind, you know, why plant-based eating is the best way to eat, but also how to cook this way in convenient ways, you know, and then how to shop and eat out, you know, if you are a very busy person. So there's a lot of resources out there. We have, you know, different areas of expertise, with Robin being a professional chef and really diving deep into a lot of the nutrition science. And then, you know, myself understanding, working for, you know, Walmart headquarters as a buyer, over like a lot of the natural health beverages and vegan and vegetarian products. I developed expertise in like the packaged goods area. And then Mark, you know, has his expertise in gardening and in almost farming. So we want to share, you know, a lot of this with you over time. But also there's so many resources out there that we want to bring together to help you guys along your journey as well.
Yes. I actually, you know, how I got started in this, I first learned about this invisible enemy, just how serious it is, through renowned physician and author Joel Fuhrman, who's a medical doctor. And he's been a frontline warrior for this for 25 years. And I went to work for him. I went to work with him to write a book with him and help him when he was developing his business in the earlier days. And I became his dietary assistant. So what I did was, my job was, he would see the patients, diagnose them, and then they would come to me, and it was my job to keep them on the program. I also taught cooking classes there. So I kind of developed a curriculum there for the patients. And one of the things that I was noticing from that, one of the things I really saw was, I saw people get over all kinds of things. I mean, some of the things we mentioned, the type 2 diabetes, I saw them reverse that, reverse cancer, reverse heart disease, get rid of migraine headaches, improve autoimmune. I mean, to completely put it in remission. So since I saw all of that, I had a lot of faith that this works. It wasn't like I just was reading some books. I saw it in action time and time again. And that gave me the authority to really teach this, because I knew what I was talking about. But one of the big problems I discovered was that even though I would teach this and I'd have the science, it was very difficult for the students to maintain it, eating whole food plant-based. And there were several reasons for that. One was a lot of people don't cook anymore, and they're working many, many hours. Some people 2 jobs, single parents, kids, you know, there's soccer practice. When I was a kid, we used to play outside a lot. We didn't have all these practices we had to go to. So there's so many time constraints on people these days. And so I realized we needed convenience, at least to get people started on this and get them kind of over the hump and into the habit of eating this way. So I had a couple of restaurants, and we had takeout food, and so people they would order by the week, they could order their meals, and they could get 3 meals a day. And so when they would take my course, I would set them up with getting the meals while they were taking the course. And the success rates just jumped exponentially. And then the other thing, which my education deals with, and especially when you're feeding the people, it really works, is the food addiction. You cannot eat the standard American diet without being a food addict. Processed foods are willfully and intentionally designed to cause you to be addicted. And food addiction is very similar to drug addiction. It bangs the same centers in your brain as cocaine does. And so when people eat these foods that are unnaturally designed, because they're not anything a man would have ever eaten in nature, they're magnified and so forth. So it sets up an addiction. And so when people start to eat whole food plant-based, they are going to go through an addiction, coming off of addiction process, which is not easy, but it doesn't last that long. And it's not as long as a drug like a cocaine addiction or something. But then you have other issues because our culture encourages poor eating. And so it makes it, whereas like if you go through AA and you get off of alcohol, you can avoid people that are drinking alcohol. That's not that hard to do, or taking drugs. But you try avoiding people that are food addicts, that are eating poorly in our culture in the United States, and that's tough. It's even tough in Europe. I teach people in Europe as well. So that's one of the things. So we are going to provide support and show people where they can get support. And so convenience, we have learned, is the key, especially for getting started on this.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, things that have developed out there outside of what we were planning to bring to you guys at Enliven Foods that we want to, gather and be like, hey, look at these great products or these great services that are out there. And then this is something that we have to add, whether it's an indulgent, muffin or some other type of product. And, then we'll also kind of share with you, things that you guys think are valuable. So we'd love, your comments and questions, send them our way. info@enlivenfoods.com, or you can just comment on this video here. But Robin, let's talk a little bit about how we came together. So we came together, Robin, well, I was working at Walmart. I was as like a financial and analytical advisor to buyers who decide what products Walmart would carry. And at this time, I saw a cooking class advertised at the Walmart Fitness Center. I signed up for that, and I found out that it was more of a cooking and nutrition class, and Robin taught that. I think this was like 2014. And I talked about before my journey to plant-based eating, but this really accelerated it because I learned the science behind, okay, I'm eating all these plants and I feel better. My gut issues are much less than they were before. And then I learned why, and it really accelerated. And Robin helped me to know how to cook in convenient ways like salads or soups or smoothies, just really simple, quick things. But then also how to shop and things like that. And Robin, I know you've talked to me about before, like what you were learning at this time about how, you were making things convenient for, a few individuals, but
Yes.
then, eventually you kind of had an epiphany that, hey, there's a way to help people more en masse. So tell me about that.
Well, I just want to say something before I go into that you just made me think of. You thought it was a cooking class, and I did this intentionally. This was a kind of sneaky thing I did, because how many people really, if you say I've got a nutrition science class, how many people are going to show up for that? Not that many. So what I would do was I would put the focus on cooking, so people would think, oh, this is going to be a great cooking class, a great cooking class. Then they'd get in there and then I'd start teaching the science. But yeah, when I was doing the food for people locally, you know, I had a dream, I had a vision that I really wanted to see this, you know, people all over have this opportunity to eat this way and to have this food. And it was interesting, when I was in Texas, I just knew that I needed to be near Walmart. I just intuitively, I just knew it. And I had a friend that had moved up to Bentonville that I had been working with in Texas, teaching this. And he said, come on up here. There are a lot of people that want to learn this. And so I came up, started working with him, and he was teaching, and he was mostly teaching cyclists and athletes, because he was an athlete. He almost made the Olympics as a runner. And so I came up here, and then I went to see somebody at the Walton Life Fitness Center about teaching classes there. And I went there. Actually, I didn't. It was somebody who I was teaching at a medical clinic. I was teaching classes at a medical clinic. And one of the patients there was a senior VP at Walmart. And she said, you have got to teach this at Walmart. We've got to know this. And so she got in touch with a person at the Walton Life Fitness Center, which was the fitness center for the home office Walmart team members. And so she made the introduction, and I went over there, and they were, you know, very excited about this. She was actually a nutritionist who was in charge of this at the center, and that's when I did my little sneaky thing with the cooking class, and I got a lot of people. I was running the first time around. I was running at least 2 classes a week, I think. It was a course. It was a whole 6-week course. And this went on for a couple of years. I would teach things around the holidays. I would teach things on depression. I would teach a class for athletes. I would just teach the basic introduction. Anyway, Chase was a very, very avid student. He was so interested and always asking questions, and he kept taking my classes. Chase would always show up at the next course, whatever it was I was teaching. And so I was sort of overwhelmed, and I was having my, I still struggled with my health issues from the accident. And Chase, and I didn't know how to do all the social media. And so Chase helped me with the social media. And after that, we just kind of started becoming friends and talking. And one day we were having lunch together, and he said, I said, Chase, this smoothie, because I made a smoothie. And smoothies, if any of you all have drunk smoothies, when you just do fruit and some greens, the green smoothies, you'll notice that you will kind of have a sinking spell. I mean, not necessarily a sinking spell, but an hour, 2 hours later, you get really hungry for something. And that is because when you blend food, not only do you increase your absorption of the nutrients in the food, but also the sugar in the fruits. And so you're getting a sugar spike when you do one of those smoothies, and then you have a drop. And so I had learned about beans being what's called a resistant starch, which slows down the absorption of sugars or any foods, this resistant starch. It slows down the absorption of sugars and other things, which is really healthy. So it's sort of time released. And so I thought, well, I'm going to put beans in these smoothies. So I put about half a cup of beans per serving to a smoothie. You wouldn't taste the beans, and it gave it a really nice creamy texture. And people would not, they didn't have that spike anymore. The smoothie held them much longer. So I said to Chase, we got to get this out there. Really, this is something easy we can do. We can get it out to the people. Walmart's everywhere. And so Chase said, okay, I'm interested. Bring some samples in, make a presentation. And I'm like, oh, okay, yes, okay, I'll do that. And so I left, and I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Walmart. And so I had a friend who I was total trustworthy person, because I've had some businesses with some partner issues. Total trustworthy person. He's got an engineering background. He's creative, an organic gardener, eats whole food, plant-based, vegan. I called him and I said, Mark, would you be willing to partner with me on this? And he said, sure. Well, my stress level just went zoom like that. I was like, oh, thank heavens. So we started worrying up smoothies and putting all this together and put together a PowerPoint, and we go to Walmart, and Chase is there, and he's got somebody, maybe a couple other people with him, and we did our little dog and pony show. And Chase?
Yeah, I was going to say that, it'd been a little bit of time. I think we met in 2014, and this was 2016 when we started the.
Yes, right.
And in that time, I got a buyer position at the produce department in the Walmart home office or Walmart headquarters. But I was in the produce department, but I was also, which was a dream for me because, I love produce and plants. But I was buying the packaged goods in produce. So like your healthy beverages, your cold pressed juices, kombuchas, some of your not so healthy beverages like naked juice, which has tons of sugar and stuff like that. But, and then I was buying the vegan and vegetarian products. And so, yeah, Robin came to me with this idea to create a meal replacement smoothie made out of plant foods that, just was super nutrient dense and didn't spike your blood sugar. And I remember we started off with formulations in mason jars. And this isn't normal, for a company to come with you with, hey, these are formulations in mason jars. But we really wanted to do something different and, that was really authentic. And I would take these mason jars up to the back after I'd meet with Robin and Mark down in the vendor rooms at the Walmart home office. I'd take them up and I would pour them out in little cups and have people sample them. And, at first it was like, people were like, I don't know. To me, they tasted good. But, that's because I had really transitioned to whole food plant-based eating for the most part. But we wanted to make them taste good to people that drank naked juice. We wanted to help people to be able to really transition. So it took about 3 years of learning, testing so many formulations, iteration. I would always sample it directly to people and get feedback from them. But we did a lot of other research and, technical type of surveys and things like that. And eventually we, found a formula that we were confident in. And then we, Robin and Mark partnered with Suja, which is the largest cold pressed juice company in the US. And they licensed the formulas to them, and Suja commercialized it. And then it got on the shelves of Walmart, and, that's really how we learned that we were not only friends, but we worked together well from a business perspective. And, that we could bring these whole food plant-based products to the market and make them taste great. It took a lot of work. And we plan to do the same type of work with our own products. So now, after that time, after the products hit the shelves, I left Walmart and got a master's in entrepreneurship, an MBA, in a school in Austin, Texas. And that was a great experience for me. And during that time, I had the idea of, I'm getting this MBA in entrepreneurship, and I've got a good relationship with, Robin, this lady that's the chef and nutrition expert, and Mark, who's really good on the operations side and just, making things happen from a manufacturing perspective. Why don't we start a company to bring, whole food plant-based products to people and to teach people? And so I called her up and Robin and kind of pitched that to her, and that's how we've got Enliven Foods, and so now, like I said, we're partnering to really make the transition to eating plants more pleasurable and convenient, but just like we did before with the smoothies, and we want feedback from potential future customers and people that are already eating whole food plant-based diets or just plant-based diets, or but also people that just want to eat more plants. Like I said before, Robin and Mark, they're pretty much 100% plant-based in their eating, what you would call vegan, but for me, I'm probably 95%. Like when I go home, you know, in order to keep the peace with my family, sometimes I eat a little bit of chicken or you know, a little bit of dairy products or whatever. But when I'm at home, when I control my own life, you know, I mostly just eat plants because I know how it makes me feel, and I know the science behind it, and I've learned ways to do it conveniently. And for me, that's a little bit different than Robin and Mark, who make all their own food. I have to buy prepared foods because I'm living a little bit more on the go. But I have increased my amount of cooking and baking that I've done, but it's a slow process. And so yeah, if you're already plant-based, or if you're wanting to just eat more plants, you're welcome to join us on this journey. And we love your feedback. Like I said, send us you know, emails with questions or suggestions at info@enlivenfoods.com, or just comment, you know, on this video, and we'd love to interact with you.
Yes, we would. We'd love all feedback from everybody. And our new product that's coming out with are the muffins. And the muffins were another one of my creations that I came up with while I was teaching, because it was a convenience food. It had all kinds, it had vegetables in it, it had beans in them, and they were really tasty. And we have chocolate ones, we have golden chai muffins, we have several different flavors, and eating 2 of those can be a healthy meal replacement, full of fiber and all kinds of nutrients.
Yeah.
So anyway,
one story that I love that you would tell, Robin, is that, like, when Robin had a clean eating delivery service, and she had like salads that people would have, and they were paired with a muffin. And when people didn't get their muffin, you know, they would call up and be like, "Where's my muffin? This is the only thing that I get indulgent." It was 100% good for them, you know.
yes.
And those muffins were also, you know, top sellers in your restaurants.
Yes, they were. They were. We used to sell, I think we used to do back in 2010, I think we used to do like $400 a day in just those muffins, because people would buy, they freeze really well, and people would buy, you know, a dozen or 2 dozen at a time and freeze them. So yeah, the muffins were very, very popular.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I love to do right now is, as we've been formulating, you know, all you know, we're starting off selling a muffin mix. Man and Muffins is the muffin mix, but I'll, you know, bake a batch of 12 and then put a few in the fridge, and then put a few in the freezer. And yeah, they're great, you know, quick little either snacks or sometimes, you know, meals if I'm really pressed for time. But they definitely keep me full as I'm going throughout my day.
Yes, I will tell you, if you eat 2 of those, it's hard to eat a meal. You're just really not hungry. They're very, very filling. And I just want to talk about kind of the names for a second. We came up with Enliven Foods, because these foods actually enliven your body and your mind. And then the manna muffins, of course, manna from heaven, bread of angels. This is was a complete food for the Israelites that came down from heaven, a complete vegan food, of course. And that's why we call them manna muffins, because they are so complete and so satisfying. And so there's a real, you know, reason behind the names of the products that we've done.
And I got to give a shout out to my mom and dad for coming up with the name Enliven Foods. I think it was probably like 6 months of time that we had kind of brainstormed on lots of different names for the company. And my mom sent me the name for Enliven. She said, "How about Enliven Foods?" And I sent it to Robin, and Robin really liked it. And I was like, I don't know. But then we like she said, you know, our mission is really, we want to help you eat plants to enliven your life, right? To help you live more fully.
And it's all about choosing life. Always when you make a choice, you choose life, and becoming educated to learn what choosing life actually is. So I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to share with you all about why we started Enliven Foods, and a little bit about what what it is. And we just hope to get to know you all, and please send any questions, and we would like to start communicating with everybody. And soon we'll have the education, a lot of education out there for you all. And
yeah, wonderful. All right, well, it was good talking with you, Robin, and
good talking with you, Grace.
we'll see you later.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay.